So you've been thinking about making changes, maybe for weeks, maybe for months, could be anything, getting in shape, making actual friends, working on things that matter to you instead of just managing everyone else's needs. And you sit down and make a plan. You open your notes app or grab a journal. You're going to do this time. But then something weird happens. Your mind floods with idea. Join the gym, start a project, maybe reach out to people, and immediately, within seconds, it starts tearing this idea apart. That gym is too far. You've tried that one before, it didn't work. You don't even know what to say to people. Other people make it look so easy, but you can't. So you close the app. You tell yourself you'll come back to it when you have more clarity, except you don't, because the same thing happens every time you try. And now you're not just stuck where you were, now you're stuck and you've added this story. I can't even set goals for myself. What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. What happens is your brain is treating the act of setting goals the same way it treats actual danger. And when your brain thinks something is dangerous, it shuts down. Hi, I'm Dr. Rue. I'm a psychologist, and I work with people who are not lazy. They don't lack discipline. They want to change desperately. But every time they try to set goals, their anxiety hijacks the entire process. So today, I'm going to show you how to set goals in a way that doesn't trigger that response. It's built for people who are already feeling overwhelmed, already depleted, and already running on empty. 2 things you need to know: why 90 days matters, and why the goals that you work are smaller than you think they should be. Way smaller. So small that you might feel you're not working hard enough. That feeling, that's how you know that you're on the right track. Let me show you what that looks like. A woman comes to me and says she can't figure out why she's so isolated. She moved for work 3 years ago. She's lonely. She knows she needs community. Every few months, she sets the same goal. Join something, put herself out there, stop being alone all the time. She looks up book clubs, running groups, volunteer at places, opens the websites, reads the descriptions, and closes the tabs. I ask her what happens in her body when she's looking at that running group website. She says, my chest gets tight. I start imagining showing up. Everyone already know each other. I'm the awkward new person. They're polite, but I can tell they're just being nice. I say something's wrong. There's this pause, and I leave early and sit in my car feeling worse than I did before. So I ask if this actually happened to her before. She stops. No, but it feels like it will. So she doesn't go and then beats herself up for not going and promises herself next month will be different. And then next month rolls around and she does the exact same thing. The story that she's telling herself, I'm the kind of person who wants friends but can't do what it takes to make them. That's not true. She's the kind of person whose brain is doing its job, protecting her from perceived threat. When you're already lonely or exhausted or feel like nothing you do matters, your brain sets up this gap between where you are and where you want to be. And it doesn't see the opportunity. It sees danger. Connection goals feel like risking rejection. Health goals feels like risking failure. Work goals feel like risking exposure. The bigger the goal, the bigger the threat. And your brain says, nope, not safe, stay where you're at. That's why sitting down to plan your goals makes you feel anxious instead of motivated. Your brain thinks you're trying to walk into traffic. Now, maybe you've heard this advice. make smaller goals, make them more achievable. So you try, I'll go to the gym once this week, and instead of 4 times a week, you go once and it feels pointless, or you make the goals super vague. I'll move my body more. 3 weeks later and you haven't done anything because more doesn't mean anything, and your brain has no idea what to track. Goals that are too big overwhelm you. Goals that are too small feel meaningless. Goals that are too vague give you nothing to aim at. You're not doing it wrong. The framework is wrong. You need 2 things: a time frame your brain can track, and actions so small they slip past your anxiety. Let's start with a time frame. Most goals are annual. Lose 30 pounds this year, make new friends, get in shape, read 50 books. Your brain sees this year and checks out. A year is just too abstract, way too far. What happens? You do the thing, on day 3, your brain asks, did we hit the goal? No, we're still 30 pounds away. Should we keep going? Can't tell yet. Way too far out. So 3 weeks go by, still 28 pounds away. Brain says, not seeing progress. Maybe this doesn't matter. February, your brain has moved on. December might as well be a different lifetime. Researchers find this over and over again. Shorter time frame work better. Not because people suddenly have more discipline, because the brain stays engaged. 90 days. That's what works. Short enough that the end point feels real. You can picture yourself in 3 months from now. Long enough to actually see change. 90 days is enough to build a habit, shift a pattern, see something different. And here's the key. You get 4 of them per year. 4 chances to adjust, 4 experiments, 4 resets, not 1 shot to get it right and feel like you failed. 4 opportunities to learn and course correct. But even 90 days sometimes feel like too much when you're depleted. So you also change what you're measuring, not outcomes, not make 5 friends or lose 20 pounds or write a book. 3 behaviors, 3 actions so small that even your worst day, you could still do them. 90 days, 3 micro behaviors, simple tracking, 1 check at a time. That's the framework. I call it quarterly micro resets. I know what you're thinking. 3 tiny behaviors for 90 days, that's not going to fix anything. You're right. It's not going to fix it, but here's what it does. It changes the evidence in your brain, it collecting about what's possible. And that change is everything. Let me show you. So let's go back to the woman who couldn't join the running group. We threw out the goal, no more join something and make new friends. Instead, 3 behaviors for 90 days. Send 1 text per week to check on someone. Say yes to 1 social invitation per month, and share 1 real thing with her partner each week. So week 1 rolls around. She sent her first text. Friend she hadn't talked to in 2 months, just checking in. Friend responded immediately, warm, asked how she was, suggested some coffee sometime. She didn't follow up, too much pressure, but she'd sent a text and done. Same week, coworker invited her for a happy hour. She said yes. First social invitation of the quarter. Every part of her wanted to say no. She went, stayed for an hour, felt drained, but she did it. Next, she told her partner 1 real thing. I've been feeling really disconnected. He says, me too. So week 1 completed, 3 uncomfortable things, all done. 2 weeks, then weeks 2 through 10, kept sending one text per week, some warm responses, some polite but distant. She noticed something. The warm ones came from people she actually invested in before. Every week, one real thing with her partner. He started doing the same thing, conversation changed, not just coordinating anymore, nothing dramatic, but something shifted. Weeks 11 through 12, week 11, she followed up for coffee, met the friend, talked for 2 hours. A friend mentioned she was in a book club. If she would be interested, her brain immediately said danger, new people, they wouldn't like you. But she has been practicing saying yes for quite a few weeks. So she said yes. She hit the quarterly goal very early. And then later went to a book club. One person was friendly. They exchanged numbers. She kept sending one text message per week to the book club person, to her friend, to other people. She kept saying yes when opportunities came up, not seeking them out obsessively, just not automatically saying no. As time progressed, coffee with book club person became every other week, not forced, just happening. By the time we checked in, people knew her name, they knew hers. Someone asked her if she wanted to join them for a concert next month. She started talking to some people she checked in more regularly. Plans on her calendar started to appear. She didn't feel lonely every day, and she didn't have to have a social calendar that is totally packed. But something has changed. Her story has changed. The old story was reaching out is too dangerous. People don't want to hear from you. You'll mess up. Better not try. But the new story is that most people respond warmly. Some connections deepen naturally, and your partner wants to hear from you what you're thinking. Putting yourself out there doesn't always end badly. So that subtle shift hadn't happened through one brave moment. It happened through 90 days of tiny actions that slowly became the new evidence. So why does this work? Your brain changes through repetition. Neurons that fire together wire together, but they have to fire consistently. You can't just build new pathway through occasional intense effort. You build them through boring, repeated, small actions. When you started driving, every movement was conscious at first. Check the mirrors, signal, blind spot, turn. Now you do that pretty automatically. Same thing here. Your brain was wired to treat reach out as dangerous. 90 days of reaching out and not getting hurt started rewiring that pathway. Not through drama, but through the accumulation. Micro behavior bypass your anxiety. When your action is send one text, your brain can't find much of catastrophizing about it. It's too small, it's too specific, and it does have low stakes. But when the action is make 5 new friends, your brain has material. What if they reject you? What if you try and you fail? What if you prove you're meant to be alone? Small behavior slip under the radar. Once they're automatic, they create the change. If you keep setting big annual goals that trigger your perfectionism, here's what happens. You start in January, you fail by March, you quit by summer, and you feel like a failure comes December. Every year you internalize that story that you're someone who can't follow through. That story, that's the real danger, not the goals. The quarterly micro resets gives you 4 chances per year, and goals are so small that even when you're depleted, you can still do them. Here's what you do. You pick one area, connection, energy, purpose, just one, whichever feels most empty, and spend a few days noticing. When does it feel worse? What are you doing when that comes about for you? What makes it slightly better? Don't fix anything yet, just I want you to notice. And then pick 3 behaviors so small that they feel super easy. If you're lonely, text one person per week to check in, say yes to a social invitation per month, tell someone one real thing per week. If you're exhausted, get in bed by 10 p.m. 3 nights per week. Drink water before coffee every morning. Say no to 1 commitment per week. Simple. If you feel like what you do doesn't matter, work on your thing for 10 minutes, 3 times per week. Share one thing you created each month. Spend 30 minutes per week on something you care about. Write them down. Track them. Calendar, journal, app, whatever works. Put an X on days you do them. That's it. Don't aim for perfect. At 90 days, ask yourself, how do I feel now compared to day 1? What changed? Not did I hit the target, but what shifted? Because you're not changing just the behavior, you're also changing the evidence your brain uses to decide about what's possible. That doesn't happen over one transformation. It happens through 90 days of small actions that prove the old story is wrong. Next week, we're talking about resistance, that voice that shows up saying, this is too small to matter, this doesn't work, everyone else is doing more. That voice will show up, and when it does, you need to know it's not proof that you're failing. It's proof that your brain is slowly changing, and change feels uncomfortable even when it's working. I hope this helped. See you next week.